Hey guys, so today I wanted to make a video to show you how to change the microphone in the iPhone 6 Plus. So the easiest way that I've found to open this phone up is to get a suction pry tool like this. It's just a little pry tool and it works so much better than using the other ones and just using suction cups on the front. Like these ones here, you can use these kind of like this, but I found it so much easier to use an actual tool like this. So the other thing we're going to be using is a little screwdriver, a Torx size 0, and also we're going to be using a Phillips screwdriver size 000. And I wanted to show you these, and I'll include links in the video description where you can find these tools if you're interested to work on this phone and to do this repair, and any parts that I'll be using during this repair I'll include links in the video description for those as well, to be sure to check them out. So first, what you're going to want to do is power down your phone, make sure it's turned off, and then at the bottom right here there's 2 screws, and they're for the Torx that I was talking about, the size 0, and you're going to want to remove these 2 screws right here. So next, what you're going to want to do is take this pry tool and attach it as close to the home button as possible. If you have broken glass on here, what you can do is just put a piece of tape over it, and that'll take care of that, and then that'll have something to adhere to. And then so what you're going to want to do is just pry up a little bit. As you can see, I got it started already. And then what I would recommend is, mine was a little bit stubborn, so if you go right in here and just carefully, I had a little plastic pry tool and just carefully pried up here a little bit, then it started coming right apart. So next, what we're going to want to do is remove this suction cup tool. It's really easy to remove. Then we're going to want to pry up. I'll show you down in here. The next thing we're going to want to do, if you can see okay, is remove these 5 screws right here off this plate, and you're going to need the little Phillips screwdriver, and just make sure to keep them in the same order so you know which order they came off. So next, now that this connector is loose here, this plate, you can just grab it. I'm just going to use tweezers so you can see what I'm doing easily enough. And you just want to set that aside, and then I would recommend having a plastic pry tool so it for sure doesn't short anything out. And get under this connector right here, pry this connector up, and go ahead and pry this other connector up right there. And then if you lift these up, there's a 3rd connector right there. Underneath that, there's a 4th connector. So once you get all 4 of those connectors loose, as you can see there, then the whole screen comes apart, just like that. So next, what we will need to do is use the Phillips screwdriver and remove these 3 screws right here. And be sure to keep them in the right order. Keep track of them so you know which ones they belong to. I would recommend when you take things out that you put the screws right with it. That way you know where it is. Like say, for example, you put this down and put this screw and this screw right with it in the right order so you know where they go. Go ahead and remove that, and then next, just to be on the safe side, is we're going to use a plastic pry tool, and we're going to remove the connector for the battery right here. We're just going to pry up on that. And next, what we're going to do is we're going to pry up on this connector right here. And we're going to kind of fold it up. And then what we need to do is we need to remove this antenna right here. And just pop that out of the way. And then we need to very carefully, if we pull this up here, we need to remove this screw right under here. What we need to do is, these screws here and this thing don't like to come up very easily. But what we can do is, if we just carefully, I'm just going to try to use my tweezers so you can see a little better here. And we'll just get this around here. And the screw fell out now, so go ahead and move that screw, and then the screw in this end of the vibrator, like that, it doesn't normally like to come out very well, but it did just now. We'll just get this vibrator off the side for now. So next, we will need to remove this screw and this screw right here. Then once we've removed those screws, we can go ahead and just pry this up and bring it around here for now. Then we can grab this little piece and get it out of here. Then we can grab the loudspeaker and pull it out. Next, you'll need to keep track of all these screws. They're all different sizes, so you want to make sure to keep them in order. And we're going to go ahead and remove this screw and this screw. And this screw, all these screws that you see right here, we're going to need to remove. So 11 screws. Just follow them all around here. And like I said, make sure that you keep them all in the right order as you take them apart. So now that we've gotten all 11 of those screws out of there, what we're going to want to do is just grab this little shield right here and set this off to the side. And then we're going to want to grab this antenna right here and pop it loose. And set that off to the side. And then next, now that everything's loose, what we're going to need to do is what I would recommend. I have a tweezers, but I'd like to try to use a plastic pry tool as much as possible. So we're going to start right at the top here. So if we pick up on this really carefully, we can start under this, there's a little where this screw starts right here. If you can pry right under there, a little to start with. Now this had lots of adhesive under it, so it comes up kind of hard. If you need to, you can kind of pull up on this to kind of assist you. Don't pull too hard to tear it, just pull a little bit, unless you don't care about saving this part. But for demonstration purposes, this is a good part, and I'm just replacing it to show you how. So you just keep working underneath it. That's why I like to have something that's flat, like this plastic pry tool. And just keep working underneath it. Now as you come around down here, you kind of have to watch this bottom here. For the charging port, just make sure that comes up okay. Then there's one more thing we need to remove here. This little black part here. We can go ahead and keep working our way over till everything's loose except the headphone jack. Now what I like to do is just in these round holes here for the headphone jack, like this is a sharp pointy thing, or I have my tweezers that's sharp and pointy. So just use this for demonstration. You can just stick it in the hole there and kind of push that way and kind of wiggle it back and forth as you go. And there's some adhesive on the front here that'll have to pull loose. And then just be patient with it, just wiggle a little bit. And then there's this microphone here that we need to unstick as well. It has some adhesive under it. So there, you just be persistent with it and it comes out just like that. Now this has the charging port in it, it has the microphone in it, and it has the headphone jack, the audio jack. So if you have problems with any of these, you're going to have to replace this whole assembly. So to reinstall, just grab your new part, set it down in here. I would say start with the headphone jack first. You can line up the hole where it needs to go. And get it to set down in just like that. And then you can start with the charging port as well. You can see where it needs to go. It can line up with the screw holes there. And then as long as everything's lining up with the screw holes, you can just go ahead and stick it down kind of as you go up through. It should stick down nice. So next, what I would say is we're going to go ahead and put these screws here in just to line everything up. So now that we've done these, and go ahead and put these 4 screws in right here. Don't put this one in for now. Next we can grab this little black part and set it right in here above the microphone. And then go ahead and put these 3 screws in the headphone jack and then this screw in here as well. Next what we need to do is grab your vibrator, and we're going to need to fasten this antenna down here. We can grab this plate and set it right down on top of that. Then we can put those 2 screws in and this screw in right up here. So next we can grab the speaker part, just set it right down in there. Is putting this screw in right in the bottom corner down here so it stays. We're going to grab this part and set it right down in. You got to watch that magnet, it likes to pull it over there, this magnet from the speaker. Put that screw in. Then we can grab the vibrator here And we have to feed the wire in behind this shield here. Between the speaker and the shield, we have to feed it in behind there. Next, we can go ahead and set the vibrator back in. And we'll need to fasten it, the antenna, on the logic board there. And then we kind of have to wiggle around this connector here. This connector can be kind of a pain. Make sure that this antenna stayed in place. Then go ahead and put these two screws back in. So next, just make sure that this antenna stays between this little shield and the speaker here. Make sure with the moving the vibrator around that it didn't do anything. Then go ahead and reconnect this connector right here. And push down so the adhesive can stick. And then go ahead and reconnect the battery connector. Then we can go ahead and set our shield down for here. And go ahead and put those two screws back in. So to reinstall the screen, just grab the screen and just use your fingers or whatever you want to use. I'm going to use my fingers, hopefully you can see okay. And just start with the big connector and just kind of work your way down. The big connector, of course, goes first all the way towards the front, the top, and then the next one goes next in line. And then just do them kind of in order as they come down. And then this connector goes over there, and then this connector goes on the bottom. Then you can feel once they all pop in securely. Then you grab your shield and set it right down on there. And go ahead and put your 5 screws back in. If it's a lot easier to put these screws back in, you can turn this screen carefully like this and start doing these outside ones. And then without turning it too far to get to the last ones, then you can, once that plate is pretty much where it won't move, then you can put the last ones in like that. So then next what you will want to do is just grab your screen, and there's little notches at the top here. Get those started in first. Then you can just start pressing your screen in till it's down all the way. And then lastly, put your 2 screws back in the bottom down here with the Torx screwdriver. And you're all set. Thanks for watching.